The forest on varies. 9 never slept. Even when the twin moons are behind clouds. The trees glowed faintly from within, their crystal blue veins pulsing with slow, living light. It was beautiful, but lonely, especially for the man who lived there. Rourke Halden was a human giant by every measure. Nearly 7 feet tall, broad as a fritter door, and built from a lifetime of lifting more weight than any machine could handle. He worked alone, cutting the crystal wood trees that shimmered across the valley. Every day he woke before dawn, sharpened his axe, and worked until his muscles burned. The locals called him the Quiet Titan. He preferred it that way. He'd left Earth 10 years ago, searching for peace after the mines took everything, his job, his home, his wife. Out here, the silence didn't judge. The forest asked for nothing except sweat, and Rourke gave it freely. The morning of the twins. That morning, the mist hung thick between the glowing trunks. Rourke swung his axe into a fallen log, the metallic ring echoing across the valley. As he reached down to split it, a faint sound caught his ear, like a bird's chirp, but softer. He paused. The forest was full of noises, but this one, it sounded afraid. Rourke leaned down, pressing an ear to the hollow. Inside, something moved. Then 2 luminous eyes blinked back at him, followed by another pair. What in the... The eyes widened, and 2 tiny figures tumbled out. Each was no bigger than a house cat, their skin a pale lavender that shimmered faintly in the light. They had delicate limbs, hair like spun glass, and wings folded against their backs like petals. Rourke blinked, unsure whether to laugh or swear. You too, lost or something. The smaller one squeaked in a high, musical tone. The other, slightly taller, stepped in front protectively and managed, in broken galactic basic. Please, help. Rourke frowned. You speak standard? Little, the taller twin said. Run, bad men come. Bad men? The twin nodded, trembling. They take us, make cages. We escape. Rourke sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. I don't know what you are, but you look half-starved. He gently scooped them up in one massive hand. The smaller one squealed but didn't resist. Relax, Rourke said. Ain't gonna hurt you. Let's get you fed. Shelter in the cabin. His cabin was a sturdy structure built from felled crystal wood, its interior glowing softly like candlelight. He set the twins down on the kitchen table. They looked around in awe, wings fluttering nervously. He poured a bit of honey and water into a cup, tore off a piece of ration bread, and placed it before them. Ain't much, but it'll do. They sniffed the food, then devoured it, humming softly between bites. It sounded almost like a song. What do I call you two? Rourke asked. The taller one touched her chest. I am Lyra. This is my twin, Nomi. Rourke, he said, pointing to himself. Just Rourke. Lyra nodded solemnly. Thank you, Rourke. He waved it off. Don't thank me yet. You said people are after you. Who? Humans. Nomi whispered. Men from Sky Metal Base. They catch our kind. For selling. Rourke felt a cold anger stir in his gut. He'd worked with those mining syndicates before. Soulless crews that tore planets apart for profit. He quit when they started trafficking creatures instead of ore. Then you picked the right lumberjack, he muttered. Ain't a soul comes to this valley without me knowing. Lyra's glowing eyes lifted. You help us hide? Hide? Sure. But if they come here, they'll regret it. Hunters in the woods. That night, the forest fell silent. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. Rourke sat by the fire, sharpening his axe while the twins slept curled up on his old flannel shirt near the hearth. He heard the hum before he saw the lights. 3 ships descending low over the treetops, their beams slicing through the fog. Damn, he muttered, standing. Outside, the ship settled near the clearing, kicking up dust. A group of men in gray exosuits marched out, rifles slung over their shoulders. Their leader, a smug officer with a gleaming visor, raised a hand. Rourke Halden, he called. We're looking for 2 escaped biospecimens. They're property of Velker Mining. Rourke stepped into the open, his axe slung across his shoulder. You mean the 2 little girls you stuffed in cages? Yeah, I've seen them. The officer's visor glinted. Then hand them over, and you'll be compensated. Compensated, Rourke repeated, his voice flat. You think I want blood money? The officer smiled coldly. You misunderstand. This isn't a request. He gestured, and 2 soldiers raised their weapons. Rourke's jaw tightened. You boys might want to rethink that. Then he swung his axe. The ground exploded beneath their feet. Shards of glowing were flying like shrapnel. Rourke charged, roaring like a bear. His axe cleaved through one rifle. sent another soldier sprawling, and cracked the third's arm like a tin can. The officer shouted, "Restrain him!" But Rourke was already moving, a blur of muscle and fury. He caught one soldier's arm, twisted, and threw him into the others like rag dolls. Then he yanked a power cable from a fallen drone and hurled it, sparks flying. The forest lit up like lightning. When the dust cleared, the soldiers lay scattered. The officer stumbled back, clutching his broken visor. You'll pay for this," he spat. Rourke loomed over him. "So will anyone else who comes here." The officer scrambled toward his ship. "You can't protect him forever." "Watch me." The ships lifted off, retreating into the night sky. A new bond. When Rourke returned, Lyra and Nomi were waiting at the door, eyes wide with fear. He knelt down, his massive hands trembling. "They're gone," he said softly. "You're safe now." Lyra flew up to his shoulder, tiny hands touching his cheek. "You fight for us?" He gave a small smile. "Guess I did." Nomi clutched his finger. "Why? We small. We nothing." Rourke's voice was low but steady. "Because no one's nothing." The twins' eyes glimmered. Then, without a word, they began to hum, a soft, haunting melody. The cabin filled with light as their wings glowed, bathing Rourke in warmth. What are you doing?" he asked. "Gift," Lyra said. "For Protector." The light sank into his skin, fading like starlight. When it was gone, he felt lighter, stronger, but also deeply, profoundly calm. "Thanks," he murmured, unsure if he deserved it. The calm after. Days passed, and the forest returned to its peaceful rhythm. The twins followed Rourke everywhere, riding in his pockets, perching on his shoulder, giggling as they watched him work. He built them a small home beside his cabin from scraps of crystal wood. A miniature house, complete with windows and a moss roof. They called it the nest. Each evening, they sang while he cooked. The sound carried to the valley like a lullaby, and even the trees seemed to sway in time with the music. Rourke found himself laughing again, something he hadn't done in years. The ache in his chest, loneliness, guilt, all of it slowly began to fade. "Funny thing," he said one night, watching them dance in the firelight. "Guess I needed Savon more than you did." Lyra smiled, her tiny wings flickering. "Then we save each other." The return of the hunters. Weeks later, a rumble shook the valley. This time, it wasn't small craft. It was a transport ship armored and bristling with weapons. Rourke cursed. "They're back." He turned to the twins. "You two hide in the cellar. Don't come out till I call." "But, Rourke..." "Go!" They darted into the hidden hatch underfloor. Outside, the transport landed with thunderous hiss. Dozens of armed mercenaries poured out. At their front stood the officer, helmet cracked, face scarred, but smiling cruelly. "Round two," he sneered. "No heroics this time." Rourke's grip tightened on his axe. "You sure about that?" The officer raised a signal. Energy nets fired from drones, wrapping around Rourke. He roared, muscles straining, the nets crackling with blue electricity. The officer stepped closer. "You're strong, human, but you can't fight an army." Then, from the forest, the trees began to sing. A high, resonant hum filled the air. The crystal wood trunks vibrated, glowing brighter and brighter. The net snapped. The ground trembled. "What the—" The officer gasped. Light burst in the cabin windows. Lyra and Nomi hovered midair, wings blazing like twin suns. Their song merged into a single note that rippled across the forest. Energy poured from the trees into Rourke's body, his veins glowing faintly with their light. He looked down at his hands, feeling power thrumming beneath his skin. "Well," he said, grinning, "guess we're doing this together." He charged. The ground cracked under his steps. His axe blazed with crystal fire as he swung, cleaving through the mercenaries' weapons like paper. The twin song grew louder, each note shattering drone circuits and scattering the enemy like leaves in a storm. By the time the light faded, the ship was fleeing into the sky, smoke trailing behind it. Rourke stood panting in the wreckage, his axe buried in the dirt. The twins fluttered to his shoulder, exhausted but smiling. "You still big," Nomi teased weakly. He chuckled. "You two ain't so tiny anymore." The forest family. After that battle, no one came again. The mining company marked the valley as unstable territory and moved elsewhere. Rourke rebuilt what was broken, though the forest had already begun to heal itself. The twins stayed, calling him Big Rourke in their musical language. He built them a garden of glowing flowers, and they sang to the trees to make them grow faster. At night, under the twin moons, Rourke would sit on the porch, the twins curled beside his boots and watch the forest shimmer. He'd smile to himself and say, Guess I ain't lonely anymore. Lyra would look up and reply softly, No, Rourke, you are home. And in the deep, living light of Aries 9, the giant lumberjack and his two tiny alien daughters watched the stars, no longer strangers but family.